We all get stressed out, but I think when we think of stress, we often picture an adult under a lot of pressure at work, like this picture. But, stress is affecting kids younger and younger. In fact, a recent American Psychological Association survey found children are most stressed or more stressed than their parents even realize. To help ease that burden, we have Dr. Elizabeth Meade from Swedish Medical here with us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So how can parents tell if their child is stressed?
Yeah, well, kids will have a lot of behavioral changes, so they may not be sleeping as well, their appetite might change, they might be acting out or a little like having some emotional outbursts that aren't typical for them, and those are all warning signs that they're starting to feel stressed.
How do you start that conversation? How do you talk to your kids about stress and what that means and how it's going to affect them mentally and physically? I mean, this is a big topic.
It's a big topic, and I think it's fine to say to kids, you seem a little different, you seem like something might be bothering you, is there anything you want to talk to me about? Some kids will really want to talk about it right away, some kids don't, and that's okay too. And so for parents to just kind of say to the child, I love you no matter what. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. If you don't, that's okay, is a good place to start.
What if the child doesn't want to talk about it?
Most kids will in their own time, but kids who don't want to talk about it right away, if you keep pushing and pressuring it, they're just going to kind of clam up even more. So just allowing some silence and some room for them to talk about it. You can kind of bring up subtle things. You can say, I'm stressed about this, and this is how I feel when I get stressed out. Do you ever feel that way? And kind of trying to relate to them on that level is helpful too.
And I think all parents want to make their children feel better, and you want to solve all of their problems, but you've actually said that's not necessarily the best thing to step in and solve everything.
No, it's not. I mean, I think as adults, we want the best thing for our kids, and we want everything to be perfect, and we want to fix all their problems, and that's a really wonderful parental instinct to have. But if you don't teach your kids how to solve their own problems, they're not really going to develop those skills. So they'll not be as resilient, they won't be as independent, and they won't be as confident if they never learn how to sort of deal with disappointment and then bounce back from it.
Sure. I think every adult knows how they handle their own stress. You have your own things that you do. Can you pass those on to your kids, or is it different for, when little people have to deal with some of these things?
Well, I think, we talk about this all the time with lots of things, but it's really important to model the behavior that you want to see in your kids. So the way that you deal with stress, your child will pick up on that for sure, even if you don't think they're listening or they don't understand. So if you have something stressful, it's great to talk about it and verbalize it in front of your kids. You don't want to dwell on it, but just saying like, oh man, that flight tire this morning was really stressful. I was really worried that you were going to be late for school and I was going to be late for work. So let's problem solve together, and what do we need to do to make it better? So we need to get the tire fixed, call the school, call work, it's all going to be fine. And just saying those things out loud in front of your children really help them develop those problem-solving skills.
Okay. What about projection? Us as parents, we project things onto our family members, but especially our kids. How can we prevent our own stress from trickling down?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think for little kids in particular, trying to keep them out of it as much as possible. So for older kids, talking through it like we just talked about, but little kids, you really shouldn't have the news on. There's really scary things that are on TV. Trying to limit that exposure to sort of world events or big things that are stressing you out as a parent. Don't talk about your financial worries in front of your kids. I mean, I think especially for the younger children, trying to keep that adult conversation as separate as possible is really helpful.
What role, I guess I know there's a role that it plays, but how big of a role does sleep play in stress with your kids?
It's huge. Well, it's for us too. I mean, not just for kids.
Right.
So it's all the things we talk about in terms of taking care of yourself that apply to your child. So getting a really good night's sleep, making sure that your child is eating healthy foods, not a ton of junk or sugar. These are all going to be things that are going to just help him or her feel better in general and be better equipped to deal with stress. Kids really thrive on routine. So even in stressful times, if there's something bad happening or they're worried about something, it's really important to keep as much routine as possible in your child's life, because it really does help them feel comforted and feel like, okay, things are kind of going along as normal. This is going to be okay. We'll get through it.
Okay. Dr. Meade, thank you. I love this topic because we all, obviously adults, we have bills and we have this and that, but you have to keep in mind that our kids go through their own things and they deal with this as well.
They do, and they really absorb a lot of our stresses too. So I think it's important to just recognize that and acknowledge it with your kids.
Okay. Dr. Meade, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Guys, back to you.